Welcome to the Beginner's Java Training. Before we start this video, this is what you are going to get: a theoretical lesson and a practical project to build. The practical project will be a surprise. Now let's get started. James Gosling is often referred to as the father of Java. He began the Java project in 1991, and by 1995 the project was ready for use. We are going to be using the Java Development Kit, the JDK, and we are going to use the Open JDK and Java version 11. This should keep us going for the next 5 years. You have made a great choice wanting to learn Java. 90% of the companies of the Fortune 500 are using Java. Java is the most popular on the THIOBE index. Choosing a career as a Java programmer in 2022 is most reasonable. Software developers are in short supply in the UK is facing a skills crisis. Employees are on the lookout for Python, Java and SQL coders in particular. In order to install Java, we are going to go to this site. There will be a link down below. Let's open this link in the browser. So this is the link you want to download from, and you will find there are 2 versions of Java for Windows. This is the one you want to install. If you're a Linux man, this is what you will download and install. And if you're a Mac person, you got a choice of these 2. I've already downloaded and installed this on my computer. I'm not going to install it on my machine, but I will download the file just for that purpose. I won't continue with this, but this is what you would do. You would continue. There's one thing I do want to point out, and that is when you get to this stage, it will show you where the Java is going to be installed. Please make a note of this. Copy this path to this folder onto a text file on your desktop. You will need that when you install Maven. Now I'm going to cancel. You would continue and follow all the prompts. Next, next, next to the end. Having installed Java, we need to test it to see that it worked. For that, I'm going to open the command prompt and type Java -version. And you can see I've got Java version 11 installed. That is what you would get. The subversion will depend on what the latest binary you downloaded. But this is good enough. We have prerequisites that we need to do for our projects, and that is to create a space where to keep the Java projects. If you are using Linux or Mac, you would use the terminal. I am going to use the command prompt. If you're not sure how to open the command prompt, just search for command prompt. And then make a folder. First go to the Documents folder, and there you're going to make the folder. So make directory my Java apps. I won't do that on my machine because it already exists, and as you can see it tells you that. But after you've done that, there is where we are going to put our Java programs. Let's continue with the lesson. In every language, the first program you write is a program called Hello World. And this is exactly what we are going to do now. You create a file called Hello World. Please note, in the Java language, it is case sensitive. So if you don't make it an uppercase H and an uppercase W, it'll treat it as a different program. So it needs to be exactly like that. I am going to open this folder in Linux. I'm running Linux on my Windows, so I can use Linux commands. We want to create the files. You can type the same notepad hello world. So you will type notepad hello world.java and you will copy the content of this file into yours. Pause the video, type this text into your file. I assume you've done that. Now we save, Control S, or you can say File, Save, File, Exit. And now we want to compile this. In Java, we use a Java compiler, which we often refer to as JavaC. So this is the command. You type javac hello world.java, and there were no errors, otherwise it would have displayed a message. If you do have errors on your side, pause the video, wind it back and check to see what mistakes you may have made to fix them. After we've compiled this file, we're going to run it. Before we run this file, let's see what Java created. We can see we now have 3 files here. We have hello world.java. This is a text file. And then we have hello world.class. And if we look now, we can see that this thing has just been created a minute ago. Hello world.java compiled, and we got the hello world class. So this is the file we are going to run. Java saved the compiled file as hello world.class so that we know that is the compiled file. But when we run the command, we don't put the file extension. So we type Java hello world. Notice uppercase H, uppercase W, and there we get a message. Let's go and look at the code. So this is the code that we just wrote now. This line here tells Java that we are declaring a class, and the name of the class is Hello World. And every program in Java is referred to as a class. And so we have a hello world.java is the file, but the class name is hello world. So that's what this line does. Then here we have a function. In Java, we talk about methods. We don't talk about functions or subroutines. We talk about methods. And when this program is launched, it's going to execute this method. And when this method is executed, we have a print line command which is going to write a message in the terminal. Over the years, there have been different styles for writing code. I give this to you now because one day you will open code that was written by a developer in the UK or in Europe, and you will notice they use what they call the Ullman style, and it will have curly braces on the side. If we go back to our Hello World code, you'll notice that we have a curly braces on the right, and then immediately underneath we have a closing brace. Our opening curly brace sits here. Our closing curly braces sit here. However, the Europeans don't put it there, they put it underneath. It looks nice because now you have symmetrical pairs of curly braces, one above the other. But it comes at a cost. If I have 10 functions, or as we call them methods in Java, you will land up with 11 extra lines of code if you use the Ullman style. And that's the reason why we use the K&R style. Cunningham and Ritchie, they were the developers of the C++ language, and this was their style. They did that to be more compact. Earlier I spoke about methods, and I said in Java we don't call them functions, we call them methods. Now let's have a look. In Java we have 2 kinds of methods. we have methods that return a value. This is a method that returns a value. And then we have methods that don't return values. So these are void methods, and these methods return a value, so they give you the type. So this is going to return us an integer. So it's an add method. It takes x and y and it adds them, and that's what it returns, the result. Whereas the void method, it will do something, but it returns nothing. When we wrote the Hello World program, we had a main method in there. This is something valuable that the Java language gives us, and that is a main method. So often you want to write code and you want to have one method that must execute automatically when you launch the code. So when we said Java space hello world to run the compiled file, it ran the main method. So here is the code for the main method, and you can see this is a void method. Remember I mentioned earlier there were two types of methods. Methods that return something and methods that didn't. So this doesn't return anything, but it does something, and in our case it displayed the message hello world. Now, in order to be able to write some useful code at this point in time, we need to be able to declare variables. In order to be able to do something useful in Java at this point in time, we need to be able to declare variables so that we can use them in our code. We are going to show you three types of variables that you can declare. The first is an integer. Now, we have two kinds of integers that we are going to show you. There are more, but for now, the int is a small integer, and we will declare a variable, number of potatoes. And then we have a bigger integer, which we call the long, and here we will declare a variable, number of transactions. And then when we want to work with dollars and cents or temperature or liters or gallons, liquid, volumes and things like that, we need to work with numbers with a fraction. And for those we are going to use the double. So here's a variable, cost price, 12.34. So it could be dollars, it could be euros, but that's how we represent a number with a fraction. We always use the double. And then when we want to type text, we create a variable like my name, and this is where we use strings. So I create a variable my name and I give it the value Jack the Ripper. So when we say this variable equals a value, what we are doing is we are assigning this value to the variable. This is how we assign values to variables, by making them equals a value. Having done that, let's now write a more sophisticated program, and I had a bit of fun coming up with this class. I took a bit of history out of the internet, and I thought this could be useful for declaring all the variables. So I'll explain the code and then we will create a file. So here, as I said earlier, we have a string name. We've assigned it the value Jack the Ripper. Now you see, I've got a year, but because this is a small number, I can use an int. So int year 1888. So that was the year. I have another string, location, and I've assigned it the value East End of London. And then I have another integer, the number of victims. What I would like you to take at this point in time is when we declare variables, don't use X and Y like they taught us at school. It's a very bad practice. You'll end up with vague variables and people will frown at you. Write out meaningful names for your variables, like the number of victims, the reward offered, the location, the name, the year. You see, all these variables, when I look at that variable name, I immediately know what it is. I don't have to go and look in the code to find out. So here we declare the variables, And you see now we've got a value reward offered, and it was 500. And then because it's a value with a decimal point, remember we have pounds and cents, dollars and cents, euros and cents. We always use doubles for money. So this is a amount, and its currency is pounds. And we put another variable here, currency equals pounds. So when we display that, we will know exactly what it is. Now we are going to print. This is the print line command. It's always written like this, system.out.println. And the print line command, in there we put what we are printing. So here we have name plus, and then the variable name, year plus the variable year. And if you look over here, reward offered, and here was the reward offered, which was 500. And then we added currency. Now let's go and build this file. You may want to go to the same folder and create the file jacktheripper.java, because this is a good clearly visible screen. Pause the video, create the file. You'll see me there in a minute. I'm going to open it in Notepad. So this is the same program you created, a file called jacktheripper.java. The class name was Jack the Ripper, and the case has to be identical. Having done that, I'm going to save this and exit. And I'm now going to compile it with Javac. And again, we can see there's a file called jacktheripper.class. So let's run this program. And we don't put a file extension. Now what you'll notice, the currency has a decimal point in it. Although we declared it as 500, if you look there, we declared it as 500, but because we declared it as a double, Java knows that this thing must have a fraction. And we didn't format it or specify how many decimal points, so it decided that the best would be one decimal place. But if we format it, later you will learn how to format code, and you will see that it will create the currency with 2 decimal places for your cents. Everything else there is exactly as we declared it. So if we look here, we can see we said name is Jack the Ripper, name is Jack the Ripper, and this information was put into the output here, and that's what we have on the screen. So that was our first little practical use of variables. Let's continue with the lesson. Every language gives us a way to put comments in the code. Because Java was based on C++, we inherited this from the C++ language. So we have a single line comment. You will see we put a double forward slash like that. And when we have a multi-line comment, we put a forward slash and an asterisk. So here we have a multi-line comment with a forward slash and the asterisk. And that's how we started, and we end it with an asterisk forward slash. So there we end it. So this is how we put comments in our code. Thank you for watching this video. Please look in the description below to find the links mentioned here and additional useful information. Also, get a link to the next lesson. And if there was something you would like to see in a future lesson, please put a comment. If there was something you didn't like, by all means, put a comment in there so that we know what to cater for our users. Please note, we decided to split this lesson into 2 videos so that it would be shorter on YouTube. The second part of this lesson 2 will be a practical part, which is the surprise. Please subscribe to our channel, give us a like so that the YouTube algorithm can let our channel grow. Thank you very much.